Welcome to another video clip of MrLopezClasses.com. Today we are going to continue in our class of marine gasoline engines. This is the laboratory number 3. And in this laboratory we are going to analyze the cooling system for inboard engines and outboards. Remember, the outboard engines, the cooling system is a raw water system. It's raw water circulating to the block and the head and returning outside through the middle of the propeller. This is for outboards. For inboards, we have different type of refrigeration. We have a raw water system. It's raw water circulating through the block and the head and going out again. And closed system, the closed system or heat exchanger system. In the heat exchanger system, we have coolant circulating through the block and the engine. After that, that coolant enters into the heat exchanger and the coolant is cooled on the heat exchanger and returned into the block. That's the most common system. We are going to analyze both of them. For inboards, we are going to check one engine or two engines that your instructor prepared for you, where those engines have only raw water system. And we are going to check how is the path of the raw water. We are going to start on the seacock. We are going to check the raw water. After that, we are going to check the circulating pump or coolant pump, but in this particular case, is circulating pump. And after that, we are going to check the path of the raw water and how the raw water goes out with the exhaust gases. Correct? This is raw water system. We are going to check a couple of inboard gasoline engines with raw water system, and we are going to follow the path of the raw water, and we are going to verify what happened with the circulating pump. In that particular case, the circulating pump helped to circulate raw water into the block and the head. What happened with the thermostat housing? What happened with the thermostat, in what moment the thermostat opened and closed, and how is the movement, the flow of raw water. We are going to follow hose by hose in order to identify how is the movement of the salt water, correct? And we are going to check in the thermostat housing the sensor, the coolant temperature sensor, and the coolant temperature switch, right? You remember in our class of electricity, the wiring of those elements, the coolant temperature sensor and the coolant temperature switch, correct. We are going to check where are located those elements in the thermostat housing. This is for raw water system inboard engines. And now for inboard engines with a closed system or heat exchanger system, we are going to check both sides. What is the path of the coolant in the block and what is the path of the raw water through the heat exchanger. We are going to follow each one with your instructor. Your instructor helps you to identify how is the path of the raw water, in what moment the raw water enters in the heat exchanger and goes out into the elbow of the exhaust. And also with your instructor, you can identify how is the path of the coolant from the reservoir through the expansion tank, and after that through the circulation pump, the block and the head, and once again into the heat exchanger. Remember, the coolant, the path of coolant is closed. The coolant goes, circulate into the block and the head, go into the heat exchanger and return and enter again in the block when the thermostat open and close. Yes, once again, we are going to check where is located the thermostat housing and where is located the coolant temperature switch and where is located the coolant temperature sensor. Okay? I need that you analyze both type of inboard engines and both type of refrigeration. Especially, I need that you focus in the path of the coolant and the path of the raw water. This is important, my friends, because in the future, you will receive a lot of calls related with temperature problems in engines. and you need to identify if the engine is raw water system or a closed system with heat exchanger, and if the engine is with a heat exchanger system, you need to identify if the problem is in the coolant, in the coolant side or in the raw water side. For that reason, it's important that you have clear that concept. Where is the path of the raw water and where is the path of the coolant, the refrigerant? All right, that's clear? I hope you identify those elements, those paths, the path of coolant and raw water in inboard engines. And in outboards, I want that you check with your instructor how is the path of the salt water. Where is that the salt water enter in the lower unit, how the salt water goes up into the power head, circulate to the block and the head, and return again through the propeller outside. I need that you follow that path, identify where is located the raw water pump, how is the process to remove the lower unit and repair the raw water pump, and how is the path of the raw water in the head. Yes, in this laboratory, we are going to practice removing lower units. And we are going to try to understand the process to replace the raw water pump, exactly that process. We are going to check that specific procedure. Okay, we are going to start, Danny.
Okay.
At what point you prefer to start?
Well, let's just first kind of look at the different types of water pump impellers you have. Okay, you have small impellers, you have big impellers, you have different triangular impellers. There's just so many different impellers. So it all depends on the model and what the manufacturer specs in the manual.
Once again, Danny, the enemy of the impellers, especially in outboards, is air and sand.
Sand. So it kind of works like this. An impeller is like a double-edged sword. If you use it too much, you get this. It wears.
It's weird, like this, no?
Right.
Exactly.
But also, if you don't use it too much, it'll look like that too.
Yeah.
And that's because when it sits in the housing, okay, when it sits in the housing like this, it holds a memory, especially if it sits for long periods of time.
Have a memory, correct.
And then you don't have the pressure, because the pressure is not the same against the wear.
Correct. For that reason, once again, the secret, if you have a boat, is use the boat.
Use the boat.
Use the boat.
The more you use the boat,
the better the boat.
the better the boat.
All right. Okay. The impellers are flexible impellers for raw water. This is mandatory in inboard, outboard.
Absolutely.
And the procedure immediately you remove the impeller is check if you have cracks. If you have cracks on the roof, and check if all the blades are in good condition.
Correct.
And normally I recommend, if you remove the plate on the impeller, replace the impeller.
Absolutely.
Because how many times you spend removing the lower unit?
You're already there.
Correct. And this is not expensive.
No. And what I always recommend to our customers is we don't replace just the impeller. We make them replace the whole water pump.
Correct.
Only because what happens is you don't know if there's a hairline crack in the housing.
Correct.
So imagine you putting this all back together and you didn't see the crack and you had to do it all over again. The customer's not going to pay you.
No, of course.
So that's why it's up to you as a technician to change out all the parts.
That's true.
It's only like $60 more for the whole kit.
No, of course. What about the housing?
Okay, so the housing here, if you notice, is smooth, okay? And what happens if you get sand, the sand becomes like sandpaper and it cuts grooves in it and it really grinds it out.
And destroy the impeller.
It destroys the impeller, destroys the housing, and if you run out of water, then this housing will get so hot it'll actually melt the plastic
Correct.
all the way around.
And the plastic is deformed. We have different housings, no?
Yes, there's different housings. You actually here have another housing as well.
Another housing. Danny, what about the seal located over there?
Okay, that's to keep air out. Okay, so that way when the impeller's pumping the water and it's pushing it through the water tube up to the motor, it keeps the air out from coming in.
Danny, when you order the kit, depending on the model, you receive what? Impeller?
Yeah, well here's a kit. Here's one kit right now that we have complete. Comes with
the housing, the plate,
the wear plate, the impeller. Then you have that seal that you were talking about on top.
Correct.
You have the seal that goes on the water tube. So when you have, let's just say for instance, you have your water tube coming from the engine, it would actually go in there. Okay?
Correct.
And you have to put grease.
Grease.
Always.
Okay? Marine grease.
Marine grease. And so here's the deal. On the housing, there's and the gasket goes here. But people tend to forget is you have a O-ring that goes in here. And so what I do is we put grease only half, because if you look here, there's a weep hole. If you put grease in the weep hole, you'll cause an overheat. So you only put grease down here.
Down over there. No here.
And the only reason I put that grease is so when you flip it upside down, it doesn't fall.
Correct.
And then once you put the grease, then you put
the
grease around here to hold the housing so this doesn't happen.
Correct. Danny, we are going to do the full service on the raw water pump in this unit.
Correct.
Okay. First step.
All right, so the first step, obviously, you take everything apart, which we've already done. But I'm going to show you how, to know exactly what water pump you need to look at the manufacturer specs and find out. And
service manual.
You need the model and serial number to do the reference to make sure that you put it, because there's different applications for different pumps. Okay?
Yeah,
so that's why it's important to know that. So once you do that, then you know the part number. You buy the unit.
Correct.
And then you open it up and you can see.
Those are the parts that you receive when you order the kit.
Correct.
Okay, Danny.
Okay. So, here's your water pump housing.
The housing, perfect.
Here's the inner housing.
The inner housing.
This is your wear plate for the water pump sits on. Your impeller. And these are the individual seals and gaskets that you need for the unit.
What about this?
This is going to be for another application which doesn't apply to this particular one.
Okay, perfect. All right.
So, and then also you have the screws. You never want to reuse the same screws.
Never.
You always want to use.
Never.
Now these O-rings is for the actual water tube that comes from the power head.
Correct.
They want you to change the O-rings by manufacturer.
And
that's why it's important.
Those are special O-rings, a special material, a special color. Be careful. Don't try to replace those O-rings for generic O-rings, because it's different material.
It's different.
All right.
Different thicknesses and all.
Different thickness. Correct.
All right. So we're gonna assemble this, right?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously, if you look in the housing, you have the O-ring, and there's a weep hole. You never want to put grease there. So when you put grease, you want to only put the grease down here. So then you take the O-ring, you put grease here, you put this in, and it secures it. The only reason I'm putting grease there is to secure it. Once you secure it there, you put grease around here to put the wear plate.
It's important the position of those grooves, no?
Yes, because if you put that groove here, the water will never go up through here.
Correct.
Okay, and then also if you look, it has little slots, so it's kind of hard to make that mistake that you see
in order to avoid that you make a mistake.
Right.
Okay, good.
Okay, so then you put it in there, and that's it. So once you have that,
and you have another O-ring here, no?
Right, and we will put that I usually put that towards the end. I'm going to explain where we're going to go now. So now, we're going to come to here. So obviously, you have a gasket.
The gasket, perfect.
The gasket. You don't need to put any sealant or nothing. Just the gasket's fine.
Use the gasket.
Then you put
the plate.
The wear plate.
If you need grease, we have grease over there.
Right. You put the wear plate. And I normally try to do is try to have the keyway pointing this way. And the reason I do that is if you drop the keyway, it doesn't accidentally fall.
This is a great tip. Yeah, facing forward in order to avoid drop the key over there.
And you don't see it, so you can see it there.
Correct. Yeah, if you have the key over there, goes into the hole. That's not good. Perfect.
Yeah, then you'll have to take everything back apart. Okay. So now once you have that, then you have this O-ring.
O-ring.
Now, if you look in the groove, you see a certain position. It always points to the right. So what I normally do is this O-ring goes to the bottom, but when I'm installing this, what I do is let's take this back off. And this is a tip. They don't really tell you this in the manual. I use the O-ring to hold it from me.
And you don't need to hold it.
You don't need to hold it. So then when you do that, then you put this in, and if you notice the groove, I kind of put my finger where the groove is, so when I'm putting this in,
and you push the O-ring down.
Yep, you gotta put your finger, just finding that right.
Down. Okay, perfect.
So when it sits flush like that.
Okay, you recommend a little grease on the plate?
I don't normally put the grease in the plate. I actually put the grease
on the housing.
On the housing.
All right. And now you apply grease
on the
for the
O-ring goes.
Okay, perfect. In order to hold the ring, no, Danny?
Yes, just so it doesn't fall. Because what happens is if it falls, you risk the chance of pitching the O-ring.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and now we are ready to locate the O-ring on place.
Right. And because you have the grease, nothing falls out.
That's perfect.
Okay, so now we're going to install this. Okay, so I still have a little grease. I just kind of go
on the housing
a little bit. And so now we're going to install the housing. Okay, so now when you install the housing, you kind of put it like this.
Danny, the $1 million question where the people make a lot of mistakes is how you introduce the housing into the impeller, protecting the impeller. What is the process?
So here's the deal. Obviously we put the grease in the housing so we don't damage the impeller, and you have to know the rotation of the engine.
What is clockwise?
It's clockwise.
Okay.
So obviously if you remember on this here, if it's running clockwise, it has to spin like this. So this has to go in. So when you put the impeller in, you have to spin the housing.
Okay, if the rotation is clockwise, it's spinning like this, and you should turn the housing in the opposite direction a little in order to help that introduction.
Correct. And once you get it low enough, then you can put this on there and then twist it by hand.
Okay. We are going to do the process slowly in order to show the process. And exactly, right now, sit properly. That's the process.
Right.
Danny, can we repeat the process again, please?
Yes.
All right. We are going to remove the housing. The sense of rotation is clockwise. In other words, we are going to introduce the housing and turn it in the opposite direction. And we are going to keep the shaft turning counterclockwise.
Clockwise, and this will be counterclockwise.
Okay, right now. That's okay, and now with the...
Hold it down quick.
Perfect. And after that, it's easy. Put the bolts and apply the torque in diagonal.
Right.
And what about the O-ring on top?
This one actually has it inside, okay? And then the O-ring that's on the shaft will actually go in here in the tube.
In the tubes, okay.
And you have to put grease on these as well.
In both of them. That's simple. That's the process.
Yep, that's the process on this particular outboard.
For that reason, the recommendation is always when you remove the lower unit, replace the impeller.
Absolutely, that's a no-brainer. Change the water. If you're taking the lower unit off, whether it's just to replace the seal, you should always replace the water pump.
And the balls, be careful with the balls. That's mandatory.
My recommendation is when you do a water pump, You replace the whole system. You do not just do the impeller. It's only like $30, $40 difference.
No, that's
it's not worth it.
correct.
Just think of this: if you miss something, you're gonna have to take it back off, and the customer's not gonna pay you for it.
And always with the serial number and the part number.
Absolutely.
And try to use original
Service
parts.
manual. Use the service manual.
No generic part, because the generic part you have problems.
Correct.
Sooner or
Generic
later.
problems, it doesn't last as long. These engines were all tested with OEM parts. That's how they're tested.
Yeah.
That's how they guarantee that it's going to work the way it works.
Correct. Okay, this is the same process for an steam drive and outboard.
Yep.
All right.
Okay guys, this is a wonderful laboratory. In this laboratory, we are going to analyze the cooling system for inboard engines and the cooling system for outboard engines 2 and 4 strokes. I hope you enjoy this laboratory.